How do you deliver a speech that someone else wrote or created? This happens all the time in business organizations and government organizations. The boss can't go, you got to fill in, here's the speech. It sounds easy. It sounds like you're off the hook. Hey, I'm just here representing another colleague or a boss. It's not that simple. Anytime you stand up to speak, people are looking at you. It's now become your presentation. It's no longer your boss's presentation. The good news is if it goes really well, you're going to get all the credit. The bad news is if it's boring, if it's uninteresting, if it puts everyone to sleep, you're still going to get all the blame. No one cares about your excuse that you didn't write it. So my advice is, if you have to give someone else's speech, certainly try to get the copy as early as possible and as much as in advance as possible. Now, sometimes you may be handed the speech 10 minutes before you have to give it. But take any amount of time you have in advance. You certainly don't want to be reading the speech for the first time in front of people. That's the absolute worst thing you could do, the most dangerous thing you could do, is an initial live reading in front of an audience. The second thing to keep in mind is you don't want to read the speech word for word. Of course, there are exceptions. If your boss says, read this speech word for word, and if you deviate one word, you're fired, then read the speech. But keep in mind, at this point, your goal isn't actually communicating to the audience. Your goal is career preservation. I'm not knocking that, but let's not get confused on what our goals are. The hardest thing you could ever do is to read a speech unless you want to bore people to death, because it destroys your body language, it destroys your eye contact, it destroys natural movements of your voice, variation, fluctuation, pausing. So you're virtually guaranteed to give an awful speech if you read. So what do? Someone else wrote it. You might not even know that much about the topic. My recommendation is you need to read the speech again and again and again. Look at the slides, get comfortable with it. Then come up with an outline where you can talk from the outline. Now, if nothing else, worst case scenario, it's tons and tons of content. You've told you've got to go through it as is. What I'd still do is go through the whole presentation, figure out what's the most important thing, interesting thing, useful thing you want the audience to know, and then just stand up and talk about that for 1 minute before the first slide comes up, before you look at any aspect of notes or any words. Just talk for 1 minute. Make that one idea come alive. And this way you'll be personalizing the speech and still making it a good presentation, even though somebody else wrote it. I'm TJ Walker. I help people to speak more effectively. If you'd like to improve your own presentation skills, go to my website, mediatrainingworldwide.com, and get some of our books for free, or check out our online and live workshops and seminars.